This is the Red Beard Podcast.
Hold on to your butt.
Do we really suck? Or is this guy really that good?
I have one speed, I have one gear. Go!
What's going on, everybody? This is Tony from the Red Beard Podcast, and I am chilling here on Friday with my buddy...
Cooley!
Yeah! So,
Yeah.
guys, it's Friday, Red Beard Podcast time. Let's do this.
Frizzy Friday.
Yeah, man, Freaky Friday. Anyway, gotta get this off my chest because I saw it today, and I thought it was ridiculous. So, there's a kid, a 19-year-old kid in Indiana, man, who went on a 3-day purge. I mean, like, legit purge.
Like he ate a whole bunch of shit and then just stuck his finger down his throat and...
I think that's called bulimia, but...
Right, but it's like binging and purging, right?
Maybe, but I think that we're talking about The Purge, like the movie The Purge with Ethan Hawke. You know,
I haven't seen this movie, but I've heard about what it's about. Like,
basically, these people, right? There's one day it's called, you know, the day for purging or the purge, and one day out of the year, there are no cops. There's no repercussions for murdering somebody or any crime. So you could basically murder anyone you wanted to. Like, say you had a boss that you, like, hated, right? You could murder that person and would not get in trouble for it. But it is, I think it's a 12-hour purge, and it's one day out of the year. And apparently, the benefit of this is that the crime rate is at, like, 1%.
oh.
Because people just, like, if they're, you know, want to kill somebody, they just wait until that day, and then they don't get in trouble for it. So, but that, everything goes offline. Like, everything. Like, I think the only thing that is online is, like, a radio transmission, which says, the annual purge is now in session. And, like, you know, people basically, like, have, like, steel gates and, like, these things, there's, like, they come down, like, in front of their doors. So, like, their houses can't get broken into. Everybody has, like, ridiculous security systems. But yeah, people literally run around, like, the city with, like, automatic weapons and just, like, kill each other, and there's no repercussions for any of it one day out of the year. But there was this kid, 19 years old, in Indiana, who decided that he was going to go on a 3-day purge, and he murdered, like, 3 people.
I have a friend who thinks that that's what downtown Providence is like.
What, the purge?
At night? Yeah.
It's not.
Like,
So,
when the sun goes down, like, it's just, like, no
People walking around
repercussions.
with
People,
knives.
yeah, just AK-47s, just...
it's funny. Louis C.K. had a joke over that. He goes, you know, people have a misconception of Harlem. He goes, it's not as bad as it used to be. He goes, people think that, like, you step off the subway in Harlem and somebody just stabs you in the face. He goes, it's not what Harlem is anymore. But no, it's just funny because it's not funny. It's fucked up that this kid actually thought that somehow he was going to get away with this. I mean, like, if you go on a purge and it's like a real thing, cool. But it's not. So you're going to get arrested, and I think he might be facing the death penalty because the people are saying that these were just, like, completely random. Which, in The Purge, I find that the main characters are actually, they're getting murdered because of something. You know,
right.
Like, or whatever. There's, like, something that they did that pissed somebody off, and, like, murder ensues. But, yeah, so, but I guess he's being charged with a bunch of different things. One of them was, like, armed robbery, where he caused serious bodily injury, and that was actually 2 counts of that. And then I wasn't aware that this was a crime, but he's also being charged with intimidation. I don't know how, like, that. I swear to God, it literally says it in this article right here.
Dude, with my RBF, like, I'd be, like, locked up for life, bro. Like, if intimidation was a crime, that's...
Well, it says...
They'd throw away the fucking key on this guy.
Look, listen. 3 counts of murder, attempted robbery resulting in serious bodily injury, 2 counts of robbery resulting in serious bodily injury, armed robbery, intimidation, 2 counts of pointing a firearm, and criminal gang enhancement. Like...
What is criminal gang enhancement?
I don't know. Maybe, like...
Like, he went up to a gang and was like, yo, I'm gonna make you better.
Yeah. He just walks up, he's like, yo, you a gang? I'm about to enhance this shit.
Take it up a couple of notches, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, you one stronger.
Let me tell you about this purge shit.
It's not real, but it is in my head. So, yeah, but what a dick. So, he's arrested now, and I guess they found out that it was a purge because that's what people said he was like saying, and they also said that statements made to several witnesses, photos, videos, and text messages taken from a phone seized from him when he was arrested on May 16th. So, I guess in his phone there are also text messages like which were actual quotes from the movie. So, I don't know. People are stupid, man, but I just can't believe that. I just can't believe that this kid actually saw this movie and then was like, "Yeah, I'm doing that in May." I just don't understand like how you get your. Well, obviously he's not right because I'm a logical person who has morals, so I probably would not go on a fucking purge.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! And the Purge 3 Election Day comes out on July 1st, which, by the way, was entirely filmed in Rhode Island.
Which is cool shit.
And they also filmed it, most of it, I heard, in Woonsocket, which, I mean, they didn't really have to set up a lot of cameras. They just had to film Woonsocket, because that's basically what Woonsocket is the Purge 3. So,
yeah, not downtown Providence, Woonsocket.
Yeah, and Woonsocket is like, that's a good, like 10, 15 miles away?
Yeah.
And if you live in Rhode Island, that's a good amount of distance.
Yeah, it's a long 15 miles.
It is. If you're from, like, Texas, that's like what you travel to get lunch. so, but anyway, I had to talk about that.
Yeah, like Rhode Island, if you're not taking turns, like it's like hell.
Yeah.
So you mean I gotta drive straight for that long? Are you kidding me? Straight for 15 minutes? No way.
All highway? Oh, I'm going to be going very fast and get there probably in 10 minutes, but I got shit to do. So, anyway, I want to jump on one other thing because this has been in the news, and I really want to know what you think about this, and I'm sure that people have heard enough about this and they have their own opinions. So, we're going to talk about this gorilla Harambe that got murdered by the zoo, rangers.
Yeah.
And I can see both sides of this. Apparently there was a kid, for those of you not aware of this, there was a kid that, I think he was like 10 or something, but he was a young kid, and he his mother wasn't paying attention, and he crawled into this like area and got under this gate and then fell into the gorilla pit at a zoo, and the gorilla basically like grabbed him, and if you watch the videos online, the gorilla was like kind of had him by the leg and was like dragging him through some water, but then there's another section.
No, he didn't have him by the leg. It's funny, like it's like the gorilla picks him up, right?
Yeah.
Like basically stands him up.
I saw that part.
Turns him around.
Yeah.
Like gives him a wedgie. Mm-hmm. And then like grabs him by his drawers and like just carries him like a fucking bowling ball, like in a case, like in the bowling ball cases. Like drags him through the water that way. Like, super fast.
Well, maybe it was the water then. He dragged him through the water holding that. But it looked like it was his leg. I couldn't see it. But I look at it this way. It could have been the gorilla, like, trying to, like, maybe take care of the kid. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I mean? Or didn't really understand what was going on, but had him. Wasn't necessarily hurting the kid.
Not yet.
Not yet. But, the zoo rangers had to make, like, I guess, a executive decision and be like, look, and I guess they went down there and they signaled like the other gorillas to come out, and all of the other gorillas came out and like away from the kid except for Harambe.
Right.
And Harambe was still holding on to them, so they were like, okay, well, we can either shoot this gorilla because he might like fuck this kid up, or we could try to go in there and like get the kid from him. And I kind of understand how. I get he's an endangered species. Apparently, this breed of gorilla was endangered. But, if you get too close with the gorilla and he freaks out, and then thinks that something's going to happen and like smashes the kid's head, then there would have been a bigger issue. So they were like, human or gorilla, and they took out the gorilla.
So the gorilla was most likely, like, just freaking out because people were freaking out around him and like screaming and pointing and just being weird, because usually the people are like looking at him like, oh look, a gorilla, cool, and now all of a sudden they're like, oh my god, it's got a kid. Yeah. So like the gorilla's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So like I can totally see like why the gorilla would freak out. I could also see that the gorilla was probably not going to hurt the kid intentionally.
Yeah, but might have done it accidentally.
With the strength of a gorilla, I mean, like, they fucking pop coconuts open like they're eggs.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
You need a human being needs a fucking machete to open a coconut. Like, I mean, like, we can't pop open a coconut. These guys are just like...
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the picture in my head of him just grabbing this kid, like, by the arms or the head or whatever, just like...
Yeah,
and then like the look on his face, like, "Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen," right? Like, like that shit would just be awful. So yeah, like I mean, they had no choice; they had to put him down because like there's with the innate strength and like not knowing their own strength and stuff like that. Like they can be the most gentle creatures on the planet, but they're also one of the most powerful.
Right, and they're extremely intelligent too.
Yeah.
So, but it's still an animal, so that's kind of like
The thing that I didn't get though is, in the news and in the reports, they were saying that they couldn't tranquilize him because he may have fallen on the kid and caused the kid to drown. Mm-hmm. Right, so he gets tranquilized, he falls, lands on the kid in the water, and the kid drowns or whatever, or gets trapped underneath the gorilla. Is there a difference between shooting the fucking gorilla in the head and tranquilizing him? Like,
well, what they said that actually too. They didn't want to tranquilize him because they thought if he got hit with a dart and then freaked out, he could have done something to the kid because
that makes sense.
You know what I mean? So if you hit him with a tranquilizer dart, it takes a second for that to kick in. But if he was holding the kid and he got hit with that, he might not know what it is and get like kind of like frazzled and then like do something to the kid. So they didn't want to take a chance. There were a lot of people that were asking, why didn't you just tranquilize him? You had to kill him. It's like, dude, you gotta take this out with a headshot just so it drops and lets the kid go. Because if something happens, it would have been like a lawsuit on the zoo. It would have been all this other stuff, But then again, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, why wasn't this mother watching her freaking kid?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
And that's the problem. I mean, like, you bring a kid that young to the zoo, you should be paying attention.
And not just paying. I mean, the funny thing is, it's not funny, but the thing about it is not that she wasn't paying attention in general. It's that the kid was freaking out saying that he wants to go in that water, and she told him no. And he kept saying it, and he was very adamant about going in the water, and she still neglected to, follow up and maybe, like, hold on to her kid or, like, time out, something.
Yeah.
Just fucking kept doing what she was doing, ignored it, and the kid climbed over the thing and went in the water like he wanted to. Mm-hmm. He said it multiple times from what I understand.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dude,
or
control your fucking kid.
Or explain to him, you cannot go in that water because there are gorillas down there.
You cannot go in that water because it's 15 feet down from where you're standing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And there are gorillas in there.
Yeah, there are.
And we won't be able to get you out of there. So.
Yeah, it was dumb. I mean, she's does not seem like a very bright person.
She probably was just like, no, it's dangerous. And the kid's like, what the fuck does dangerous mean? I have no idea what that means.
She's an idiot.
Because I'm 9.
She's just like she sounds like one of those people that I just want to like slap when I see out in public acting like a freaking idiot. Just like, dude, like, 1, control your kid. 2, grab his hand, like, take him, stay with me. If he doesn't stay with you, grab the hand, bring him with you. Like, do not just let this kid run around. And parents do that and shit happens. It's like years ago when I was, I want to say like 16 or 17 or something like that. There was a story that I found so disturbing, and I never forgot it. I don't know where this was, but there were these kids that broke into a zoo at night because they were being idiots, and one of them decided to go for a swim in one of the friggin' things and didn't know that's where the polar bears live, and like literally just got like murdered by a polar bear. Like literally, the thing fucking like swatted him and like basically ate him while he was alive. Like, That is fucking awful. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. Like, hearing your friend getting murdered by a polar bear and you can't do anything. 2, like, you're the one getting murdered by the polar bear, realizing, like, oh, this was the decision that I am never going to survive. And then 3, like, why would you think it was a good idea to go into the zoo at night? When are you going to get arrested? 2, I don't understand how you don't understand how, like, all right, you're walking through a zoo, right? Maybe this is because we're logical people. You're walking through a zoo, right? You see a pool of water, right? How many times have you gone to a zoo and seen a pool of water that was for you? Like, it's probably not for you, especially if you had to jump a fence to get to it. There's a fence surrounding that water for a reason. There's probably something in there that you should not come in contact with. You know, it's probably an animal because you're in a fucking zoo, right? I mean, I just don't understand people, like, their logic. You know, did you think the polar bears, like, went to sleep? They're going to wake up when they hear the water splashing. You know, like, I don't know, it's awful. So, I don't know, I think that their intentions and their executive decision to kill the gorilla was right.
So this isn't the first time that an animal got, like, sniped. in a cage to save someone. I mean, recently, May 22nd, it was reported that a man jumped into a lion's cage.
That's the good
at
idea.
the zoo.
Yeah.
To commit suicide.
That's the worst way ever to go.
Right. Like, he decides to, like, go in. He climbs the fence.
Was he pulling like a fucking Anchorman? Like what?
No, he climbs the fence, right? Gets in the lion's cage, takes his clothes off, and then approaches the lions, like, trying to commit suicide. And there was a suicide note that was found in his clothes. This happened in Chile, by the way.
Okay.
Right. And so they killed the 2 lions, trying to protect the man. And it's like, they're saying, like, due to the circumstances and, you know, to firstly protect the life of this person, we found ourselves obliged to apply all of our security protocols and kill the lions. And in that situation, I'm almost like, yo, dude was trying to commit suicide.
Right, it's not the lion's fault.
They fucking kill the lions?
Yeah.
To protect the dude that's trying to commit suicide?
Stupid. They should have just sniped the dude and been like,
like, I think all lives matter.
Where's your dinner?
All lives matter, right? Like, I'm not saying that. Look, I'm not saying that. You know, let the guy die, right?
Right.
But if it comes down to killing an innocent creature versus the guy that fucking put himself in danger because he wanted to,
right?
Right. Like, it's different with the kid. Because the kid had no idea. The kid didn't want to die. He wasn't like, I'm trying to die. He wanted to get in the fucking water.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get in the water. Right? Yeah. Jump in, fucking swim around a little bit. Gorilla comes up to you and it's like, oh shit, I made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Right? This guy got in the cage and literally he didn't have a change of heart. Mm-hmm. He took his friggin' clothes. He had enough time to disrobe. Took his clothes off, got naked. Said, fuck it, I'm going out naked.
All right.
Right? Not even sure. Maybe because like it's not in the report or anything like that. Maybe he took the time to fold his shit up. I mean, lions are lazy. They probably didn't approach him or come at him right away. But they were like, "Oh, let's shoot the lions and protect this dude." Why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that. I don't think that they should have shot the lions, but I think the way people look at it is like...
I mean, that takes at least take the chance and tranquilize the motherfuckers, right?
Yeah, like, I feel like in that situation, maybe they should have, like, tranquilized the lions. You know, like, it just puts them out, and then they can grab the dude. I mean, I don't know, man.
While you're at it, shoot a couple of CCs into the guy, too.
Yeah, knock him out.
And knock him the hell out.
I honestly think it's... You know, people freak out, quick decisions have to be made, and... You don't necessarily have time to logically think about all this. Well, the guy's in there. They probably found the note after the fact. You know,
the fact that he's naked, though.
Yeah, but they're probably thinking
The fact that he got in the
Yeah, I
lion's cage and got
understand that.
naked.
All right, but think about this. You're working in a zoo, right? As like a ranger. They're like, oh, down to the lion place. Like, holy shit, something like whatever.
Down to the lion place.
You know what I'm saying?
Down to the lion place.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go to the lion's den. You know, like, holy shit, there's, like, you know, whatever, Code 41, you know, some crazy shit, right? Bring your guns,
41.
right? Or whatever it is. So, they show up, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you see a naked dude in there. You're like, your first order is, what the fuck is going on? Shit, those lions are going to come towards him. What do we do? And they're like, take out the lions. Boom, boom. You don't have time. And that's not anywhere near how it went down. But, like, that's probably what you have to... That's probably like the speed happens like that.
Yeah.
You have a very limited amount of time to make a decision. You don't have time to think about why that dude's naked. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
But next, where are the lions? Are they coming at him? How much time do we have? Like, should we kill the lions? Yeah, you get to go to kill the lions to protect this dude. Then you find out later this dude disrobed because he's an idiot and wants to kill himself, and he has a suicide note. If you had that information before, you know, might change things, but you're not privy to that information in that 1.5 minute window.
Right.
You know, so I feel like it's different. If we have time like we do now to sit and think about this, it might make sense, you know, to make a more logical decision. But, you know, and it also has to do with like people being around, right? Like, he wants to die. You know, kids, this is nature. Like, you know, survival of the fittest. We're going to give you an example.
This is called a culling.
We're going to give you an example of why Darwin was right. You know, so I just don't, you know, I think it's a game time decision. It's an executive decision you got to make. Yeah. With that being said, I want to talk about Jeff Bridges, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually going to be in the new Kingsman.
That's going to be awesome.
Is going to be awesome. What did you think of Samuel L. Jackson in Kingsman?
I loved it.
He was such a weird character, though.
He was, but I mean, he was still Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, he was. He was just Samuel L. Jackson dressed like a teenager.
He was Samuel L. Jackson dressed as a teenager with a lisp.
Yeah, he did have a lisp.
He had like a severe lisp.
Yeah, and he, I like how they brought over like that tray of like what you thought was going to be expensive food, and he lifted it up and it's just Big Macs.
Yeah.
I like that. That was awesome. I don't know. I was kind of on the fence about his character, but I thought the movie itself was phenomenal. I can't remember the big surprise with me with names. I can't remember the main actor's name, but the British guy. I thought he was phenomenal. I went into the Kingsman not really knowing what it was going to be or how it was going to be, and it was. I thought it was awesome.
It was a fantastic movie.
Now, Jeff Bridges, I'm assuming, is maybe like the new villain.
I'm guessing. I mean, he could be, somebody that's part of the organization.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I guess we have to wait and see because there's really no report as to what he's going to be, as far as I know, unless that has been released or divulged.
Well, I am looking at this. So Colin Firth is actually going to be. He was the main guy in the last movie, and I'm guessing he's coming back as the same one because now they have Mark Strong, who is also like hardcore British,
right?
And Jeff Bridges. So there's a lot of other people in here too, like Channing Tatum's going to be in it, Halle Berry's going to be in it, Julianne Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a stellar cast, and they also have this kid is coming back, the main kid. Taron Egerton, he's actually coming back as his character. So the storyline is when an attack on the Kingsman headquarters takes place and a new villain arises, which I'm assuming maybe Jeff Bridges or the other guy, Eggsy and Merlin are forced to work together with the American agency Statesman to save the world. So Mark Strong is playing Merlin. So
right.
I guess he's going to be teaming up with the main kid, which his name is Eggsy, to save the world. So that gives me the hint that Jeff Bridges is probably the villain,
Right.
Which is awesome because I think Jeff Bridges makes an awesome villain.
He does.
That seems cool, man. And then I mean that actually surprised me. That's a top billed cast. So I always like that too. How like one movie comes out and they're like, this is new. I don't know. And then like it kills, and then all of a sudden they're like, we gotta get like it's like they jump on the bandwagon,
Right.
You know, kind of like they did with what's that show? Lady Gaga was just in it.
Oh, American Horror Story.
Yeah, American Horror Story. Like first season that came out, people were like, like nobody thought anything of it, but then it killed, and then they brought in all these big actors. It's kind of like these big actors are like vultures. Like something blows up and like, they just come in. It's like, why don't you just fucking lay off? Like
I want a piece of that.
Yeah, let the people who are doing this the right way the first time continue to do it.
Right.
You know? I don't know. So Kingsman, definitely going to be awesome. If you guys have not seen this movie, I implore you to check it out. It's probably the darkest character that I've ever seen Jeff Bridges play. It's called The Vanishing. And I feel like I've talked about this before. It's based on a French independent movie, which has a darker ending, but just check it out, The Vanishing. It's with Kiefer Sutherland and Sandra Bullock and Jeff Bridges. And it is fucked up. And it was like made in the 90s. Probably Sandra Bullock's like first movie. Then you have a younger Kiefer Sutherland. So just check it out. Disturbing, very disturbing. But if you like horror that makes you think, dude, it still fucks up. It just fucks me up thinking about it. But check it out. The Vanishing. Anyway.
Word.
Yeah.
I did see that when I was younger. I can't remember like exactly how it turned out, but I think I should watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's probably it freaks me out. If I say why it freaks me out, it's going to ruin it. But you'll have to watch it. It's just disturbing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. In other casting news, though, I found out that Brie Larson is in talks with Marvel to play a major character, Captain Marvel.
Oh, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this before.
It was just it wasn't really announced yet. It was not leaked either, but like it was kind of reported last night that she was in talks.
All right, yeah. Was this something? I feel like this was something that was there rumors of this before too.
Not for her, but there were rumors about Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, that's what it was
Yeah.
then. Yeah, because I knew Captain Marvel. That's cool though. How do you think she would do as that character?
I think she would be great. I mean, she's a good actress. I mean, she's fucking awesome. She won an Oscar, no, for The Room.
Yeah, The Room. I actually didn't see The Room. I heard great things about it, but I did see her in other films such as 21 Jump Street. So
yeah, and she was in
she was in Trainwreck too.
Yep, and whatchamacallit there, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She was in Don John too with what's his face? Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh yeah?
So, yeah, she played I forgot what her character was, but she was one of like the supporting characters, and she was pretty good.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see how she would do as or how she would be in Captain Marvel. I think it'd be an interesting. It's good to get somebody new on the scene, you know,
right.
Instead of having somebody jump in that's already done a ton of stuff. Because she is I feel like she's a fairly new actress.
Yeah, she's basically like breaking through.
Yeah,
right now.
So I like to see people like that actually get a shot.
She's definitely Marvel's first choice, as far as what we're reading, and she is interested in the role. I don't know. I just think they're trying to arrive at a good number and a contract, and officially sign, and hopefully we get some news pretty soon. I know Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios. Thank you for forming words, mouth. The president of Marvel Studios basically has come out on record and saying like, hey, this summer we should have an announcement, a major announcement on Captain Marvel, like as far as director and what they're going to do with the film and who's going to be in it. So. This seems like the first step in that process, so that's pretty cool. And Namor, I don't know if you know of this character, but Namor the Submariner, he's basically the king of Atlantis in the Marvel Universe, Marvel's Aquaman, if you will. Their first mutant character ever. Has landed back at Marvel Studios, so that's actually some pretty big news as well. I'm not a big Namor fan. Like, he's never really been like my favorite character, but I love the character's arrogance. So whenever he's like, you know, in the spotlight in a comic book or in a storyline or something like that, he is like the cockiest, like most arrogant person in the room. But he's a hero. Like, he's good inherently, so he's not evil, but he definitely brings this air about him in the room that, you know, he's royalty, you know, and everybody else is beneath him, and it's just really cool. It's going to be a great dynamic, you know, to get him in the same room with like a Thor or Captain America or
yeah, that would be cool,
or even Black Panther, which I'm dying to see, because you have like two kings, you know, in the room with each other. Like, how's that going to be? You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a really cool dynamic, and I'm hoping that they can get this going ASAP.
Now, is there any more news on Keaton as far as like him possibly being involved as, you know, Green Goblin?
Nothing as of yet. Nothing's popped up yet. So I guess they're still in talks. And I'm not thinking we're going to hear much about the Spider-Man movie until after we get Doctor Strange out the way.
Okay.
Because Spider-Man will be kind of like the next movie in line.
Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you did see X-Men, right?
I did.
Okay, I did not, but I just want to know briefly, because it's tanking. Like,
it is. It's tanking,
what do you think? Like, I mean, do you think it deserves that, or did you like it?
No, all right. So here's the thing, right? So it totally deserves it. It deserves to tank because it's not catering to the movie-going audience, the casual X-Men fan, right? The people that have seen X-Men, you know, 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, Days of Future Past and First Class. Like, the people that saw those movies, it doesn't cater to them. It doesn't explain anything. So, like, you go in and you see all this stuff on screen. That's kind of like a giant, like, homage to, like, the stuff that comic book fans have been into, but doesn't explain anything. So, like, you get just like a whole mess of, like, special effects on the screen. So it's beautiful to watch, and if you liked Sucker Punch,
yeah,
right, then you probably would enjoy this movie as a casual fan. But if you're a comic book fan, and you can get over some slight problems, like, and I say slight, but it's really, I mean, there is a major problem with the movie, and that's the title villain is not represented the way that he should be represented. Like, and it all has to do. It's this cascade effect, because they fucked up Magneto with your boy.
Yeah, Wolverine.
No, your boy.
Fassbender.
Yeah. So Michael Fassbender does a phenomenal job playing the character Magneto, but they fucked him up by making him this, like, tragic hero instead of the villain that he is, right? And he does, like, eventually in the comic books redeem himself, but even then, as a hero, he's more of, like, a Punisher type hero.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like this good guy that doesn't kill, right? Or, like, you know, stops himself from killing to show how good he is and shit. Like, and that's something that they've done with the character in these last 3 movies with Fassbender. And by doing that, you've reduced him to less than Magneto. So you need somebody to kind of fill in Magneto's shoes, right? And that becomes Apocalypse. But Apocalypse shouldn't be this guy that you understand, or a misunderstood villain who's trying to be a father figure to mutants and you know, save, you know, mutant kind and drive them forward and make them rule the world. He's trying to rule the world himself, right? Everything else is inconsequential. Like, he doesn't give a shit about mutants, right? But in his mind, only the strong survive, right? And that's the whole idea. It's like he's a Darwinist. He's just like, okay, so he's in his mind, I'm the most powerful. I'm going to rule everything. Everything else underneath me, I don't give a shit. But, you know, the strong will survive, and that's it. And then he, like, elevates, like, certain mutants to the status of one of the 4 horsemen, which would be, you know, famine, death, pestilence, and war. But we don't get any of those except for Death, which is Archangel. But you don't get that sense. They're never called the Four Horsemen. They're never called, famine. They're never called pestilence, and they can't because they don't have the powers that they're supposed to have to convey that. So you don't have anybody that's causing disease or any of that shit. Like he takes Storm, Psylocke, Angel, and who's the fourth one? I can't even remember. That's how fucking dumb the fourth one was. It's Magneto.
Okay.
Magneto is his fourth horseman. And like none of them have any of the powers that you would expect the four horsemen of the apocalypse to have. Like, you have magnetism, one controls the weather, one has like psychic abilities, and the other one can fly. Like they're not the four horsemen, okay. Right? But Angel, like he can fly, but he has like the feathers or flechettes that he can like throw. These like bladed feathers, and like he's death. He's like the angel of death, which was really cool in the comics, and it translated well to the movie. But the rest of the Four Horsemen weren't really the Four Horsemen. And just like writers, I think a lot of writers in comics get it wrong sometimes too. Like nobody really knows what Apocalypse's powers are.
Okay.
Or like what his true purpose is, and like a lot of people get it wrong, and they got it wrong in the movie. So to me, one of my favorite villains kind of got shit on. But at the same time, he wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, he did a good job in the role, and he was intimidating and whatnot. But he was also a little too kind, and that was my problem. But other than that, I thought the movie was good, and like had a lot of really good like Easter eggs and shout outs and things that fans of the books can really look at and be like, oh wow, that was really cool. And at the end, there's like this lineup of the X-Men. And they're all in their actual costumes instead of like fucking leather biker uniforms, which, at first Singer made fun of. He was like, oh, why would they be in yellow spandex and blah, blah, blah. But now he's got them all in their like, costumes. Like, Cyclops is wearing his blue and gold. And I think Jean Grey was wearing like her red and gold or red and black or something like that. You had Mystique in the blue and white. And everything just looked really cool at the end. Like I was like pumped and I wanted to see more. But it was a good movie. Like I enjoyed it. But again, I can see why other people wouldn't, because you go in there and nothing's really explained. Like they introduce Storm, but you have no idea who the fuck she is. They introduce Psylocke. She just pops in out of the blue. It's like every one of them has Boba Fett syndrome. You know what I mean? Like, that character that shows up for like 5 minutes in the movie and you're like, wow, they're really cool and I want to know more. But it's like, you never find out any more about them, and that's what every single character in that movie has.
Well, what I've heard too is that Sophie Turner, who actually plays Sansa in Game of Thrones,
yeah, she's in there.
I heard she like killed it as Jean Grey.
She was awesome.
Yeah,
she's a British actress. I mean, British. I'm sorry, man. The Brits are like the best fucking actors and actresses.
You know what though? I agree with that. Just because I think. Like I've been thinking that for a long time, but it's because I think the training in England
they're classically trained.
It's better.
Yeah.
Although the training in America is also very good. You know what I mean? And it depends where you go for school.
Right.
It's really great, or it's what I mean. But
that's the thing. I expect that there's like a secret society in England where it's like it's the only place that you go to learn acting.
Well, you also have to. I mean, I don't
Where's
know,
Johnny? I haven't seen him in 5 years. I don't know. And then he shows up. I've been in acting school.
It's one of those things where I think.
Wow, you sound like an American. Yes, I learned that in acting school.
I think British actors inherently just come off as more badass because of their accents.
Well, no, that's the thing though. Like, how many times have you watched an actor, like, in like maybe 3 or 4 movies before you finally see an interview with them, and then you find out that they're fucking British?
Yeah, like Christian Bale.
You have no idea.
Like Christian Bale plays one of the most articulate characters in American Psycho, but then you see him and he's got like a Cockney accent.
Yeah, they're not.
It's like lower class British.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, wow, like, he's like, I just want to say thank you for this award. It's just like, I can't believe that I'm here. It's just like, what? Then he's like, then he's just like Alfred. It's just funny. My parents are dead. I definitely think that, but it's also because of their accents too. Like people like Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow.
Yeah.
He has a British accent, and he was on I forgot what it was the other day. He was on Jimmy. He was on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and he gave a really funny interview. I actually want to tell you about that. And he's kind of got like that British accent. He's like, "Oh, glad to be on the Tonight Show. It's been good to be here." But then he steps into Jon Snow, and he's still British, but he's like Keanu British. He's just like, the White Walkers in the wall. It's like, what the fuck happened to you? It's just like, I know nothing. I'm dead. But it's just like, but then they got Jimmy Fallon. Oh, so yeah, I was good working on Game of Thrones, and he's a little bit more articulate. But he told this really funny story, which I think is worth mentioning. I guess this was after he died in the last season. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't watch Game of Thrones and don't know the spoilers, but after he died in the last season, people were wondering if he was going to come back, right? And I guess he was in London or somewhere, and he was speeding, and he got pulled over by a cop, and he was like, and the cop was like, "Oh, do you know that you're going this fast and blah blah blah, and this is a bookable offense and blah blah blah." And then he was like, and then he goes, "No, I didn't know." And then he asked for his license, and he goes, we could do this one of two ways. He's like, we could take you back to the station. He goes and book you in for this, for whatever. And he goes and bet you a ticket. He goes, you can tell me if Jon Snow lives in the next season. He was like, and then he goes, and then he literally goes, he's like, Jon Snow will be alive in the next season. And then the cop literally looks at him. He goes, "On your way, Lord Commander." It's so fucking cool. You know what I mean? It's just so funny. And he's like, "I got out of a ticket because I told him Jon Snow lives." And it's like, technically he broke major contract, but like, who's gonna believe that the guy just pulled over Jon Snow?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess you tell.
Hey, I just pulled over Jon Snow. He told me he's gonna be alive.
Yeah, cool, man. Anyway, so I don't know. I thought that was kind of a funny story, but yeah, I think it has to do with their training. They train at places like the Royal Shakespeare Company. A big part of their training is Shakespeare. Learning dialects is taken very seriously. There are schools in this state that focus on, well, all right, I'll take that back. I mean, there is classes like voice and articulation where you learn about how words are pronounced and stuff like that, and articulation, how that's important in public speaking and so forth. But unless you take the time, I feel like, on your own to really study dialects and accents and practice that stuff, I don't think you're necessarily going to be good at it.
Right.
There's one of my mentors actually.
You're gonna like shift between like fucking British and Southern.
Right. I mean, like
back and forth.
He went to he was my mentor when I interned. I don't know what that is.
It's like 5 different dialects.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because I suck at it.
So I was working with my mentor, and he was when I interned at a theater in Rhode Island, and I talked to him about what his training was, and he actually spent like 12 months with the Royal Shakespeare Company in London, and he said like their dialect class was ridiculous. Like he had to learn how to do Russian for 1 month, and they were like, "Here's the tapes, here's what you got to say, and have fun." And like he literally had to sit in a room for hours and like practice how they talked, and like he would get up and do the monologue, and they were like, "Nope, sit down. This is what you got to fix," and you had to work on that for like a week and come back.
You know what I think of? You know what I think of like those British like acting schools? Like I feel like they're like the Red Room in for Black Widow.
Yeah, I know
from the Avengers.
Yeah,
like
just like hardcore. Yeah,
like, giving them like on the spot abortions and fucking like
Jesus.
You are not gonna be pregnant. Not yet.
It's insane, man. I mean, they have a lot of. I think the only school that comes close to that would be Juilliard. I feel like Juilliard has like extensive like classical training.
Yeah.
Where you literally get the shit beat out of you. I mean, like when you
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I feel like they literally get the shit beat out of them, like
No,
whipped and fucking.
It's like mentally stressful. I mean, like I like for me, I feel like accents. There are accents that I can't do that I would need to practice, but I feel like there are accents that I'm pretty strong in. But that I think also like partners with me as a kid just doing impressions.
Right.
Like I would listen to stuff and try to copy it. So ever since I was a kid, I was like copying things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the way people spoke. But it's like, Jim, one of my best friends, like he always tells me, he's like, dude, you need to help me with accents, like, because he wants to learn how to do accents. But like we had a joke that like, I'm like, yo, do a British accent. And he can't do a British accent. All he does is go, hello, love. And I'm like, that's it. He's like, oh, good to see you, governor. Hello. And it's like the worst.
It's the funniest thing because that's all I can do. Hello, governor.
Hello. And I'm like, dude, that's like a cop like from the 1940s, like who works outside a castle. Like that's what that is. And it's like kind of Scottish, but like I don't know. It's like that guy from. He's been in so many movies where he's in. Did you ever see? Swordfish.
Yeah.
There's a guy. He's been in so many things. He's like a big British guy, but his accent always sounds very different to me. He's like, I'll tell you what you're gonna do. He's like, you're gonna sit your ass in that chair. He's like, or I'm gonna put this bullet in your head. But it's like he's all over the place. It kind of sounds Australian, but I know he's British, so it's obviously right. But it's like a lower class British,
right?
You know. But then you got that guy who we just talked about is going to be in Kingsman. He's in that commercial where he's like, why is it that all villains sound cool? Because we're British. You know what I mean? Like,
you're talking about it's the same guy that I think you're talking about the same guy that was
guy.
in. He plays in like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
I don't know. He's the bald guy.
Cake. He plays in a bunch of British movies.
It was.
He's like a ex-soccer player or something, or rugby player or something.
Yeah, he was also in the movie with Brad Pitt where they had those really weird accents.
He was the Juggernaut.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember his name though.
Yeah, but he's got like that really lower class like accent, and then
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. But there's but the guy who's gonna be in Kingsman, what the hell is it? I just talked about him. Mark Strong.
Yeah.
He's got like the cool accent, you know. But then you got like Colin Firth,
right?
Who's got like the really upper class, you know, like I'm a king, but I don't know how to talk. It's one of those, like, you know, I don't know, like, so I don't know.
And then you got the other kid.
Which one?
The one that plays the kid in that movie.
Oh yeah, he's
on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, he's got like the Cockney.
Isn't he like a rapper in Britain?
I don't know.
Or London? I think so.
He's got like the Christian Bale accent, but like younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh man, yeah. So I don't know how we went into accents, but that was a fun tangent. Good talk. Talk about Outcast, man, which is something that Robert Kirkman put out. You watched that? I want to know about that. Dude.
I watched it this morning, and it's fucking great, man.
No, it's about demonic possession.
It's about demonic
possession, based on a real case.
It's about demonic possession. It's a dude named Kyle Barnes.
Yeah.
As a kid, his mom was possessed.
And the family.
And like basically, well, no, he's not possessed.
Oh, he's not.
Right, he's not possessed.
It happened to him too. Okay.
But his mom was possessed, and like for some reason, his blood like hurts the demons, right? So he was able to drive the demons out of his mom, but not before it damaged her beyond, coming back. So like she's basically just like an empty shell. She's in an insane asylum somewhere, and she's like being monitored and on life support or whatever. And he ends up like moving on with his life after that, and gets either married. I don't know if he was married or whatever because it's not clear. But he gets married or has a woman that he's with and has a kid with her, and that woman ends up getting possessed. So his wife or / girlfriend gets possessed, and he's got to drive the demons out of her. And it's implied that possibly his daughter was possessed. And his way of like getting rid of the demons is really like it's not the same as like what you see in most of these movies as far as exorcisms go. Like his way of doing it is basically like, you know, beating the shit out of the fucking person that's possessed, right? It's really it's really weird. Like he punches them and it hurts them more than it should. That's his way of saying it. Like if somebody asked him, "How'd you get the demons out of your mother?" and he was like, "I punched her," and it hurt her more than it should have, right? Because he was a kid and like he literally like punched her and like it staggered her. But at the end of the day, like he didn't realize it until the last exorcism that he performed that it was his blood that was driving the demons out.
What do you mean? Like, does he like literally cut himself?
Well,
and
probably
takes the
this
blood?
is probably going to happen, but and I'm not sure if it will or not. But he was in the middle of driving the demons out of this kid, and like the kid bit him. But when he bit him, like it started like, you know, like recoiling, like retracting and like, you know, getting away. So he realized that, like, you know, when he bit him and broke the skin, that his blood was actually causing harm. So he like squeezed the wound into the kid's mouth, and it basically like drove the demons like out of him, and it like basically this projectile vomit onto the ceiling. It's like black projectile vomit like onto the ceiling, and just like caused this big pool of like black ooze, and then it like congealed and like flew away. It was really weird, but the special effects were really cool. It had a real creepy feeling to it. The pace was a little weird. It was a little off. It was almost like it was high production value. But if you've ever watched something where a movie or whatever or a play, you see this more in plays where an actor will say a line and there'll be a pause, and then the next person will speak, and then there'll be a pause, right? It's not really it doesn't feel like a natural conversation, almost, because there's too much like, oh, you said your line, okay, it's my turn, right? Like, that, I felt that in my first watch through. I don't know if I watch it again, it might be different, but it threw me off a little bit.
You know what reminds me of what that sounds like it reminds me of is when Becca watches Downton Abbey. Like Downton Abbey is like a PBS, but the way that it's filmed is almost like they're filming a play.
Right.
Like it doesn't. It's a very different way of filming. It's almost like Curb Your Enthusiasm has a very awkward way of filming. Right. It feels different, and that's exactly what it sounds like. And their banter is different than what you would see on like a Walking Dead. Right. You know. So yeah, I think I know what you mean.
And like if you notice, like even just listening back on our stuff, like you can tell. Like, I mean, if I'm having a conversation with you, you might be starting the first word in your sentence just as I'm ending the last word in mine.
See what I did there?
Yeah. Exactly. So as people, as humans, we're not as courteous as we'd like to be.
I agree.
And in directing people, like I think I have to see who's directing, because I don't know who's directing the show.
Now, is this a series? Like, it's going to go on for like a couple episodes, or is it just a two-parter or something?
No, it's a series.
So, is this one story like this season, or are there going to be multiple stories?
I think it's an ongoing. So it's not going to be like an anthology series, like a American Horror Story type where it's like different all the time, or like a True Detective or anything like that.
This is just about this kid.
This is about Kyle Barnes and, you know, what he's doing. I need to read the rest of the comic. I read the first couple of issues, right? And then stopped because they were hard to find. I mean, frankly, and you know, I haven't subscribed to comic books at a store for a very long time, just because I can't afford it. You know what I mean? I can't afford to like go and buy comics every month like I used to. That used to be like I mean, I literally would drop like maybe $150 a month, but that's a bill for me now. You know what I mean?
No, but this is, you're saying it's a comic, but it's also based on a real person?
I didn't know. I don't know if it's based on a real person or not, but I don't think so though.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it sounds pretty cool.
It's a Kirkman creation, so I don't think it's based on anything real.
Person, yeah. Okay.
But it's interesting. I was thinking about it because you have Fear the Walking Dead, and now Outcast. You have pretty much a Kirkman-based show pretty much every week of the year. You'd be able to see something by Kirkman like every week.
Yeah, I mean, dude.
This is a guy that was chasing me around trying to get me to buy his little comic books.
Yeah, that's...
Before anything took off.
How does that affect you now?
Oh, I'm so... I don't know. It's like... It's surreal. It is. Like, I mean, like, to see this guy and remember him... Because I remember him. Like, that's the thing. He made an impression on me. Yeah. Right? And that's the type of person that he is, obviously. Right? It's got to be. Right? So, like, this is a guy that I met. He made such an impression on me that I remember him. And then... Later, like even like as I'm reading his comics, the name Robert Kirkman didn't really occur to me until I saw his face. I was like, "That's the fucking guy." And then I saw and I looked up like his body of work, and I saw that he did Battle Pope, and I was like, "That's the fucking guy that does Battle Pope." He was chasing me around trying to get me to buy it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So Invincible, Battle Pope, Tech Jacket, and like all the shit that he did. Brit. He's a phenomenal writer, and like he was unknown to me then. He was unknown to a lot of folks then.
Yeah.
And he was running around just trying to get people to check out his shit. And when they finally did, he blew up, and that's it. That's the end of the story. Yeah. But his influence, like he can influence people, and that's the thing. He's got the it factor. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's not about like what you look like. It's not about who you know. It's like how you can influence people. Can you meet somebody, talk to them, become a friend, like in an instant, and be able to walk away from that, right?
Yeah.
And never see that person again. But then that person will remember you, right?
Right.
Like that's the thing. Like he probably doesn't even remember me at all, but I remember him. And it's not, I don't remember him because he blew up. I remember him because of that, just his character, like who he is. You know what I mean? Right.
No, he was, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that his writing is phenomenal. I mean, every show that, I mean, just his storyline is like all over the place. I mean, like you're talking about Fear the Walking Dead, which I've mentioned a bunch of times that I didn't really want to get into. Like I tried watching the first episode of the second season, wasn't really feeling it. But I kind of like on my lunch break, like I open my iPad and I'll like check out an episode, and like it started getting a little bit better. And I have one more episode. I have like episode 7, and that's like the mid-season finale. So,
right.
And I'm trying to see where that goes. I mean, it definitely has had some. It's been interesting. I feel like it's picking up. It's just, I think it's hard for me to kind of like get invested in it because of I know where this is going. You know what I mean? And it's hard to see people like they're finally starting to get it. Like
well,
they're and it's a whole different group of people. You know, they're just starting to understand that what the rules are of being around these things.
Right, but I feel like, and that's the key right there, is that it's a different group of people. You know where the world is going to end up, but you don't know where the story is going to end up.
But the thing is, I was talking to somebody the other day. I forgot who it was, and we were talking about this, and I was like, oh, well, a buddy of mine, keeps telling me I need to watch Fear the Walking Dead, and she was like, she's like, really? She's like, I watched like a couple episodes. She's like, but I just can't deal with it. She goes, I can't stand the characters. She goes, and I was like. And she said exactly what I was thinking. She's like, it's hard to sit there, she goes, and watch people rediscover everything that you already know. She's like, you know that you can't get next to this person, and you have to stab them in the head to take them out, and you know that they're not just sick, they're dead. It's like you have to sit through hours of time in a series, or the first season and a half, for people to get it. Like, whereas in The Walking Dead, you knew this was new to all of them. You yourself were actually learning the rules. But now it's kind of like you have to sit through a whole other group of people relearning shit that you already know. So for me, that's why I kind of got bored. I was like, like The Walking Dead, it's like you're on the same page as them. You're figuring out everything as they figure it out, right? These people, it's like I feel like I'm ahead of them. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, well, obviously she doesn't know that she can't get next to that thing, it's going to bite her. She got bit. She's dead. You know, so it's kind of...
But look at Nick, though. Like, look at Nick, right? And he discovers that he can put Walker stuff all over his body, right?
Yeah.
And that he can walk amongst the dead, right? Yeah, we've already seen that with Rick and the crew, right? But look at how he looks at it. Like, he feels like it's a superpower.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. And
like, the way that... So that's the thing. Like, it's the characters and how they handle these situations. And, like, yeah, you're discovering with them, again, like, stuff that we already know. But it's how they deal with that and how they use it, right? Because it's different from how it's done in the regular series. Like, yeah, you got to give them headshots. But, I mean, like... And you know, like, the whole thing... Like, on that island... that little island where they, you know, had the kid and, you know, the father was going to poison them. You know what I'm talking about? Like, on that island, like, they had the fence, like, at the prison. And, you know, every time the walkers came up, they would, like, you know, they would cut him down, you know, hit him in the head and, you know, get him out of there. Same shit as in the prison. And I kind of like that. I kind of like watching them draw correlations and show that people are dealing with these situations and they're all figuring it out the same way. To me, that's interesting. I don't know why that's not interesting to other people. Like, and that's why I kind of get, like, I get frustrated. I can't push my opinions on other people, but I get frustrated when I hear people say, "Oh, well, it's just the same thing over again." But it's like, yeah, it's like they're different people.
Yeah, I know that.
You know?
And I understand how, like, it's a different story, but still, it makes me... Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, like, I feel like, oh, I could be doing something else, like, this is boring, like, you know, I don't know, like, it takes me a while to get really into something. I think it's like that whole thing of, like, jumping in, it's an investment in your time, like, it really is. I mean, think about it, like, I've put in 6 hours to Fear the Walking Dead.
Right, you did that, but you did that because you weren't watching it when it comes out, which would have been just the same amount of time that you were putting into The Walking Dead.
Well, no, that's not
on Sundays.
Well, yeah, I don't mean that. I mean, like, it would have been 6 hours, like, regardless. But I'm just saying, like, it's an investment. I mean, that's 6 hours that I could have been watching something else that maybe I was a little bit more interested in, or doing something. I don't know. It's kind of like, all right, if I'm gonna watch this, I need to be into it. And I was kind of like, first episode in the second season, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. And then, like, halfway in, I'm like, I'm not feeling this. And I was just like, fuck it. Why am I making myself watch this? But then, like, I had nothing to do on one of my breaks. And I'm like, let's see what happens. And then it started to kind of pick up. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know, so now I'm kind of like, I want to see where things end up. I want to see if this kid gets, like, murdered by his family because he's really making some bad decisions.
I think he's gonna. He's
lost his mind. He probably will. I honestly think that, what's his name?
Chris.
Yeah, Chris. I think he's
off the reservation,
he's
man.
done. He's basically gonna. I think it's gonna be a look at the flowers moment with
I
him.
think, yeah, it's gonna be like of. I think it's gonna be like of Mice and Men.
Yeah, probably, exactly. The other kid though, who puts the shit on himself. What's his name?
Nick.
Nick. I think Nick's gonna be like a new Rick.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where that's going. He's gonna be the leader because he was like, he doesn't have. It's like he's so fucked up because I think of all the drugs that he did that he's like, I think his adrenaline is like shot. Like, he has no fear.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he literally, the only thing that I think is going to trip him out is when he got like PTSD when he was looking at the tree with the face. And like that girl was praying about her mom and he like started to like, some stuff was going on there.
Kept seeing the owl and all that.
Yeah, it was an owl? I don't think it was
There was an owl.
I thought it was like a devil face.
No, it was like there was a devil face, but he saw that and then he like saw an owl face too.
Oh, I honestly, because then he was thinking about like that girl when she turned and she was like, it was interesting. I want to see what happens to him, but the fact that he just was like, Strand was like, you need to go do this, and he was like, cool, and he just like jumped in the water and like walks through all these people, kills this walker, puts blood on himself, finds this dude, comes back. I mean, like, he just like did not even think that like he might not get back to Abigail. Like,
right, but he has a bit of compassion and some wisdom too.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, he's not a dumb guy.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like he's smart. He's a survivalist.
It's interesting that they chose like a drug addict.
I like that.
And yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is one of the most interesting parts of the show to me is that he was a drug addict, he was a loser, he was a nobody, he was going nowhere. Then the apocalypse comes, and now it's possible that he's going to be a leader.
But I also think
You know?
that that's his Achilles heel. You know, I don't know. I feel like, but it's his crutch too. It's his crutch because in an environment where there are drugs around, he's gonna get. That's what's gonna bring him down. You know?
Right.
You have this leader, but that's his weakness. You know, he's in an apocalyptic world where that stuff isn't readily available. But if it is,
Mm-hmm.
that's what takes him down. You know, so because we saw him before they left their town, they were trying to like keep him together, but he was like breaking into the next door neighbor's house who was on medicine and like getting all high on that shit, and nobody really knew.
Right.
So I feel like in this world where that stuff isn't readily available, he goes through the natural withdrawal process. But now, so he's coming out of it, and he's basically who he is as a person. But like, if goes through a hospital for some reason to look for supplies and finds that, it's gonna take him down. That's gonna be his. I feel like that is that character's weakness.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know that he would actually give in to the urge immediately. I think it would have to take something tragic.
Yeah, it's gonna be
more tragic.
It could be his coping mechanism.
Right.
You know? Yeah, he would use that to cope.
Yeah, like something that drives him to it. Because I think, like right now, I think he sees the value in being sober.
Right.
Because it's keeping him alive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like before, it was like, I don't think he had a death wish. I think he just enjoyed the drugs, the recreational drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. The stakes are higher. He might not. I agree. Yeah.
Because there were plenty of times like he was just like, like especially with that black kid in the beginning, like the one that got turned and they ran him over with the truck in the tunnel. Like he was like basically going to kill him, and he fought for his life. Like he didn't want to die. So like it's obvious that death is a deterrent for him. So to keep himself, like, I think he'll stay on the straight and narrow. I think his new drug is walking amongst the dead.
Yeah, that's actually a good call. Yeah, man. I mean, I gotta watch the last episode, so we'll see what happens. I'm gonna watch it today. I do want to. You said something earlier about they're reshooting some stuff from Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's going on, man? They don't want to make. They're afraid of making it dark.
I think something like, geez, I can't remember how much money they're spending on these reshoots, but it's a lot. I believe it's something like the number 4 is in there. Okay, so the number 4 is in there. It's probably not 4 million. I think it's 14.
14 million.
Yeah, I think it's 14 million.
Just because they don't want a Batman v Superman experience.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was 44 million.
Holy shit.
But 14 million sounds about right to me for a reshoot.
So what percentage are they reshooting? Like 10%, 20%?
Not sure. This says so. It's a significant reshoot, though. And movies are doing this more and more nowadays, and it's a little disturbing because it feels like, all right, I'm a writer and director, and I put this thing together and I make a movie, and then I show it to the studio, and the studio's like, nah, bro, needs to be funnier. Mm-hmm. So now what happens to my story? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nah, bro, needs to be a little lighter. Okay, thanks. So now I get something that's not what was intended by the director. And it may be great. It may be a good movie. It might even be a good call by the studio, but I still don't get to see the art that the director created. So when you get these director's cuts, I feel like we're getting less. I feel like even the director's cuts that we get sometimes are not actually director's cuts. Mm-hmm. Like it's not like the director's like, all right, well, here's the movie that I presented to the studio, right, before you guys got to see it, right?
Right.
And that's what I want sometimes. I want to see what were you thinking, right? Because sometimes there are going to be things in these recuts that you're like, all right, well, that kind of doesn't make sense, but maybe it makes sense if we get to see what the director intended. So Batman v Superman, for instance, is a clear example of that. I feel like when you see the director's cut, the movie's going to be a lot better. It's not going to be great by any means because I still think there's enough in that movie that's inherently wrong. You know what I mean? That just, it's not going to be a great movie no matter how you slice it. But I think it's going to be better because some things are going to come together differently. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, from what I'm looking at right here, and this is makingstarwars.net, somebody who wrote this article said that he asked somebody who was on the set what they were going to, like a couple crew members, what they were going to reshoot, and they laughed and said everything. And he goes, of course they were kidding, but from the sound of it, the shooting will be extensive, and this is what I guess is going to be reshot. Here are the common themes and what behind the scenes are saying. Some crew initially heard J.J. Abrams was supervising the reshoots. Gareth Edwards is doing the reshoots himself, but with a partner, Christopher McGuire. Christopher McGuire, the final writer on Rogue One, will be working extensively with Edwards on set to make sure they're on the same page with the most recent draft of the film. Christopher McGuire's draft of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, was considered superior to the film they shot previously. It was not Edwards' fault, as McGuire's draft wasn't completed when much of the film was shot, and revisions kept coming in that made the film feel uneven. 32 sets have been recreated for the reshoot. The crew expects they are reshooting 40% of the film.
40%.
40%, dude.
Extensive.
They are working 6 days a week for 8 weeks.
And
that's insane.
What's crazy is
and
that
that's
it's
24-hour days.
40% of the film is being reshot, and it's not going to affect the release date. You know what that is? It's fucking Disney money, bro.
Yeah.
That's Disney. Disney's just like, hey, release date's the 16th. Make it happen.
I'm going to read these last two paragraphs just so I can finish this, because this actually sums up what we're going on. It says, once again, this is on makingstarwars.net. It says, so that's the word on the reshoots going down. The vibe doesn't seem bad. It seems like they're making the movie right. When the movie began filming, there was a lot of talk that the budget had been greatly reduced slightly before shooting, meaning that more CGI would be needed. Now it looks like the movie is going to cost what it was supposed to cost from the start. The quality of the film wasn't bad, it just needs to be better, and all involved are happy to make that happen. It is important to remember that this movie doesn't come out until December. If it were September and people were saying the movie was awful, we would be screwed and stuck with a bad film. That's not the case here. The reshoots were always part of the plan, but there are way more shots to be redone than they initially thought. I'm not crazy about execs saying what works for films. They tend to turn out the same crap over and over again. It doesn't sound like the situation is exactly like that here. It sounds like it's a pretty good situation where everyone wants to make the film better than it was. As a Star Wars fan, I'm pretty happy they care enough to make sure it's right.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good point, too. I mean, if it was September, they might be screwed, but they got, so it's June, July, August, September, October, November, December. They got 7 months.
Right.
7 months is it's 5 months less than a year. So they got more than half a year to actually get their shit together.
Right.
And when I've worked on film sets, there are basically what they do is they will shoot something, and they have literally editors on site where they're like, here you go, and they rip the shit apart and start working on it. So they're filming, work on it, filming, work on it. You know what I mean? They're literally they're using Thunderbolt shit too. So it's boom,
right.
to put the shit together. And these guys are masters. So
I was like, here you go.
Yeah, I'm sure
Done.
they're good. So yeah. I don't know. I'm looking. Rogue One looks cool and cool, man. Make it right.
When you think about it, though, I'm saying, most of these movies, they're when they're in development, it's probably, you know what? Because when I think about the development process of a movie, I'm thinking a 3-year process.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm thinking 40% of the film needs to be reshot. That's, probably a year or a little more. Right? But I'm not considering the writing process, the casting process, the set building, and all that stuff, which is already, they said that the set building's already been done.
They're recreating some of them,
yeah.
So they might be tweaking it, but they're going to bring in some of this. You have to have some of the same set pieces.
Yeah, and then all the other stuff's been done. Obviously, you have your cast, you have you have the script, everything's there. So it's just a matter of going through and shooting the scenes. So yeah, it's probably not going to be that bad.
No.
as far as time.
I think they can do it. I mean, they're going to do it. They have to do it, so they'll get it done. Everything with film and theater, I feel like you run into a lot of snags, but it always comes together in the end. So
Right.
and they got people that are making some cash doing this, so they're good at what they do.
So speaking of film, we have a guy coming up soon, right, on our show?
Yeah, so June 10th actually is going to be the release date for this. So this guy, his name is Todd Braley, and he's actually going to be the director of a film called The DJ, or DJ, which I will be a part of, which is set to film next year. So definitely check him out on Facebook. He's done a lot of great stuff. He just wrapped on a movie called Misfit, which he's going to be, which will be released soon. And he's done a lot of other great stuff, but I don't really want to get into that now. I want to wait to kind of talk to him about it when he's on the show. But this guy's got a lot of stuff under his belt. He's gotten some awards at a couple Comic-Cons for the stuff that he's worked on. But we'll talk about that with him on June 10th. So make sure that you guys keep tuned for that episode. It's going to be a great episode. And he's a huge Jaws fan like me. He also put together a documentary called Jaws Fanatics, where it's about all the people that are like obsessed with the movie Jaws. And Jim Beller, who has been on our show before, the owner of the largest Jaws memorabilia, is in that, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that film also. So make sure you guys keep your eyes on that. June 10th.
Cool. And on the 24th, we have Justin Sloan coming up. Mm-hmm. He's a writer on Game of Thrones, Telltale game. Not to be confused with Game of Thrones, the TV series on HBO, or the books, which is George R.R. Martin.
Right.
But he was part of a writing team, for that game. And I got to say, I played like the first 2 episodes so far, and that game is phenomenal. His work doesn't really show up until the final 2 episodes. So I haven't really played any of his stuff yet or his content. But man, the game is like it has the same feeling as the TV series, and it follows different families, and it all interconnects with what's going on.
Yeah.
And with the same, you get to see, the Boltons and all the families are there, but you're playing in the role of like a different family. So it's really cool. It has the same shocking endings that you would expect from Game of Thrones.
Do they have some of the same like voices, or is it different voice actors for that? I'm assuming.
Yeah, like when you're dealing with characters that are in the show. They have the voices from the show.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Another guest that we're going to have, we haven't locked down a date yet, but it's going to be in July. Her name is Cassidy Caduto. She's actually a good friend of mine, and she does cosplay. So she's got a lot of characters that she does. Some include Wonder Woman, Xena. So we're definitely gonna do some work with her. And she also is a huge Game of Thrones fan, and she's read all the books. So we're probably going to touch on Game of Thrones, and she does one of the characters from Game of Thrones too, who we'll get to. I don't want to mention who that is just yet. So we got some good content coming up for you guys. Also, some good video stuff coming as well as we've been promising. So make sure you just keep your eyes peeled, because we got some stuff coming, guys.
Word up.
So. Yeah, man. Make sure you guys keep checking out Redbeard Podcast on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. Guys, if you listen to our episodes and there's something that you want to comment on, definitely comment on that stuff, because we really like interacting with our fans, and we like going back and forth with you guys. So even if you want to hit us up on Twitter about something that you heard on one of the episodes and you want to kind of voice your opinion, like totally, let's do it. Also, if you've been looking at Twitter, which I'm sure most of you do, or redbeardpodcast.com, Andrew Kavanaugh has Kavanaugh's Corner, and he's been releasing a lot of stuff, but his schedule is officially going to be Sundays and Thursdays. So if you like Kavanaugh's Corner, make sure on Sundays and Thursdays you actually check out the Twitter, and you get to see kind of his movie reviews.
Nice.
So, yeah. But I think that's it for this episode.
That's it.
We'll see you guys next week.
That's it.
Peace.
Peace.
Later.
Later.